Hi, everyone. This is our session 5 overview and outline video. This is for the module 1, Empathy Circle Facilitator Training, Building the Empathy Movement. And we're inserting this session 5 into the regular training to address restorative empathy circles, which is about empathy circles for conflict resolution. So this is a new session, and we're still testing it and refining it. So do be patient with it as we move through this session. Do take any feedback notes about it and document it, and do share them afterwards. Perhaps write them up and put them in the feedback section. So let's begin. So our session 5 outline is 2.5 hours, and this is the standard outline that you've seen in all the previous 4 sessions. We have the full group debrief, and then we'll have the breakout rooms, and then the full group again, sort of for the closing. In the full group, for the first 30 minutes, we have participants check-ins as usual, and this will go for about 15 to 18 minutes. You'll take 3 seconds again to share any questions, comments, etc. from the last session, any learnings from your empathy buddy calls, and any short report from facilitating an empathy circle this last week. So, try to share an experience, not just, hey, it was really great, but really try to go into a little bit of depth about what specifically you learned so that others can learn from you. In this session, there is no feedback. Like usually it'll take 10 minutes, and some of the trainers will give feedback from your questions in the feedback form. But we're really short on time for this session. So that time for the feedback and the breakout room description is I'm going to be covering a little introduction about the restorative empathy circles for conflict mediation, and then I'll give the breakout room description. So hopefully you're watching this video too, so you'll have a bit of a heads up on what to expect in the session. The more you're kind of prepared, I think the easier and better everything's going to flow. So the empathy circle, I had for the restorative, I'll give a little intro, I guess, to the restorative empathy circle, and I'll give a little bit of an intro to that now. And this is what we call an empathy circle when we apply it to more intensive conflict mediation. I sent you all a link to a restorative empathy circle REC that I did for the Santa Cruz group, and there's sort of an explanation about what the restorative empathy circle is about, and then a bunch of videos showing what we call a pre-circle, where I listened to the parties that were having a conflict, and I just listened to each of them individually before taking part in the actual circle. And it explains, just explains a bit more about the whole process. So hopefully you have taken a view of that, and if not, be sure to do that. They'll just prepare you better. But today is just a very simple, very, very simple taster, I'd say, just to get a little bit of a understanding of empathy circles for conflict mediation. And it's a full REC training would really take about 4 to 6 weeks, probably, if at least that. And so we're not doing a full training on it. We're just going to give you a little bit of a taster of how the empathy circle can hold conflict. Again, this is in development, and we're still working on this. So let's see. So the next thing, let's take a look here. I'm kind of like this picture, this idea that it's kind of a concept, how I kind of envision the empathy circle, and kind of use this metaphor of the empathy circle as a container. That an empathy circle holds and builds connections and relationships well, with people come into the circle Everyone is going to listen. Everyone is going to be able to express themselves well or as they wish and be heard to their satisfaction. It'll end with hopefully more mutual understanding. It's a useful and effective container, and it has a lot of benefits to it that you're all very aware of, I think, by now. And this contrasts to a very, chaotic, competitive, raw, conflict, dysfunctional, people not listening to each other, and just, the energy is just all over the place and is not being productive. It's just being painful and what have you. So the empathy circle as a container is holding that energy and making it constructive, I would say. But next, we can see that the empathy circle can get holes in it. It can, the container can break. And as you know, as you're doing your facilitating your circles, that there's challenges come up, and those challenges are trying to break in one way or another, might break the flow or the effectiveness of the container, and then you're patching them up, and you're kind of getting better at it, and getting better at it so that the container is stronger. And we have here the restorative empathy circle is about making an even stronger container of the empathy circle. So it's the same thing. You got an empathy circle. You're going to be holding, conflict. You're going to be holding a lot of strong feelings, a lot of strong emotions. People are going to perhaps be really upset. So you need to have that container be stronger to be able to hold that. It can hold it, no problem, but it just needs to be a stronger container to hold those kind of situations. And as you saw in the Santa Cruz mediation that I did, that there's just more steps that you take to build that stronger container. You're taking part in this training. You're strengthening the containers that you can hold just through the more experience you have. Your containers, your empathy circle containers will become stronger. And so any kind of training or experience strengthens that container. And if everyone follows the agreed upon rules and roles, that really strengthens the container. And that's what we're going to be addressing today, is people in conflict, but they're willing to hold the rules and roles. And that does a lot to really strengthen the whole container to hold all those emotions. So that's just a little bit of a metaphor. It's kind of how I kind of metaphorically think about the empathy circle, is that container metaphor. It's kind of in the back of my mind. I just find it sort of useful to see, if things fall apart, what can I do to strengthen that container for the future? And there's a lot of things that can be done. So let's take a look here. Again, the session outline, again, is the full group, just 30 minutes, just explain that. Then we're going to be going into the breakout rooms, and then we'll have the full group again. And this is our standard structure, which you know very well. You've heard taking part in over and over again. But let's go into this breakout room description. So usually what we're going to try to do is, in the breakout rooms, we're going to try to just have 4 participants all together, 4 people in the circle, to be hopefully 1 trainer, 3 participants. But we never know how many people will be there. It's going to be maybe an odd number or something. So we may end up with 4 participants, 1 trainer and 4 participants. So just got to roll with whatever happens there. But it shouldn't be more than 5 people in the circle. So then we're going to divide the time again by the amount of participants. Hopefully there's going to be 3, so you have a lot of time to do your facilitation. Again, if there's 4 participants, you're going to have to cut these times down by 4 instead of by 3. And then, here's what the participant 1 will do. In the circle, you're going to have 25 minutes to facilitate an empathy circle with people, a family that's in conflict. And so we'll have one facilitator, and everyone else of the participants, it's even the trainer, if the trainer's in the room, they're going to take on the role of one of 5 sibling roles. And I'm going to explain that in a minute, what each of those roles are. So the circle is, you're facilitating this circle, and there's these siblings in the room with you, in the empathy circle with you. And you'll go for 25 minutes, then you'll stop. The trainer's going to keep the time, the overall room time, and they'll stop the circle 5 minutes before your time is up, and then do kind of a feedback, kind of a group feedback. Now, the scenario that we're dealing, and this is a lot of text. Hopefully you have a copy of this and you've printed it out and you've reviewed it. I sent a 1-page description, but I'm going to review it and read it here. Don't expect you to read this online. So participant 1 is the facilitator. The scenario is that you are mediating a restorative empathy circle with a group of adult siblings who are in conflict over who should get the $300,000 life insurance inheritance from the mother that just died. There is no will, so there's no instructions for how to deal with this inheritance. You have explained the circle process and rules. Everyone has agreed to the process. So all the, you've already talked to the siblings, explained the rules, explained the process. They've all said, okay, we're willing to do it. And then your topic is whatever's on each person's mind, alive for them about the inheritance. And you're the first person to listen. So one of the siblings can choose you to speak to, and you'll have 3-minute turns, and then you know the rest, how the process goes. So everyone, when you get into when you start the new facilitator starts, everyone else is going to choose one of these sibling roles, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And the siblings all have personal issues and lifelong resentments with each other. So there's a lot of conflict in this family. There is free speech and expression. So in the circle, they can say anything they want, and there's space for them to express themselves. As a sibling, you can be forceful, maybe even angry, upset, argumentative, etc., but you're going to really want to stay within the process. So it's not like there's no challenges, meaning that everyone is following the rules. In the challenges that you've been dealing with, someone one of the participants in the circle is not quite following the rules, or they don't understand the rules, and they're like interrupting, or they're not listening well. In this situation, everyone is following all the rules. So, you keep on time, you don't interrupt, whatever. And so the goal of this practice is just to experience how an empathy circle can hold and eventually resolve conflict and strong emotions if everyone follows the process. So we just want to know that, if I'm in a circle, there's a lot of strong conflict, a lot of emotions, that, you'll be able to hold it, to keep it, keep everything going and on track. So next is the role play scenario. So in this, you're going to have the participants are going to have 5 different roles, siblings that they can take on the role of. And the first thing you do is say, I want to be sibling 1, I want to be sibling 2, or I want to be sibling 5. And so we're going to explain what each of these roles, the basic scenario, sort of the story behind it that you're going to be role playing. So sibling number 1 is you took care of mother. You took care of the last parent, the mother, who had Alzheimer's and just died. You feel you deserve the full inheritance to compensate for all the time, work, and expense you contributed to taking care of the mother. And besides that, you also have some kind of resentments or, personal issues with all the other siblings. So sibling number 2, you took care of the father. You took care of the previous parent, the father, before he died several years ago. The mother couldn't take care of him because she had Alzheimer's. And so you took care of the father, and he had a debilitating illness that took a lot of work for you to take care of him. And you feel you deserve the full inheritance to compensate for all the time and work and expense that you contributed. And again, you have, personal issues with the other siblings, kind of resentments or anger or what have you. Okay, sibling number 3, loaned money. You loaned money to the mother to live on or to take, for her care, and you feel you should get the full inheritance to pay off the debt. And so you're going to sort of argue from that position, like, hey, I should get the full inheritance. And you'll be negotiating with all the other siblings to try to come to some resolution, like how are you going to solve this problem, and who's going to get the inheritance, or how are you going to divide it, or what have you. And you again have personal issues with all the siblings, so we're not starting with everybody being on good terms. We're starting with these underlying issues. And the sibling number 4, you can say, I want to be sibling number 4. If you do, that was you were gifted the inheritance. You were told by the mother that you would get the full inheritance, and no one else heard the mother say that. And you were the only one that heard the mother say that, but you feel that should be the way it is. And you have personal issues with all the other siblings again. So that's up over and over again. Everybody's kind of has issues with the other siblings. And then number 5, you can create a persona, which is, just you can come up with your own persona and reasons for wanting or not wanting the full inheritance. And you have, personal issues with all the siblings. So you can say, I'll do sibling 5, and then just give a sentence or 2 explanation of what that person is coming from. What's their point of view that they're coming from? Because we hope they'll come up with some new sibling situations that maybe we can add for future trainings as well. So we'd love to hear what you come up with. So those are the siblings that you're going to choose from. And again, to continue in the circle, we have the facilitator 1. Everyone else select the siblings you will role play. Let everyone know which sibling you are playing. The facilitator scenario, you have already explained the circle process and the rules, and everyone has agreed to the process. So you got agreement from everyone. You don't have to do a how-to. You don't have to do anything else to kind of set the scene. The scene has already been set. And the topic is whatever is alive for the siblings about the inheritance. You might say that. So our topic is whatever is alive for you about the inheritance. I will be the first listener. Who would like to be the first speaker? And then you just start the process. And then the siblings one sibling will speak to you, try to be a bit emotional, and everybody just reflect back what you hear, stay within the process. I'm just saying it over and over again, just to make sure that there's no breaking of the process. So then you'll go for 25 minutes, and the trainer will kind of keep the room time and say, okay, 25 minutes is up. Let's get your feedback from the group. So it's more of a group discussion. How was that experience for you? Everybody gets a minute or so to share their experience. And I'll show you little icons here. So we've got, sibling 1, 2, 3. Oh, I have 2 3s, or it'll be 4 or 5, and you'll be taking on those roles. And the facilitator, you're sort of neutral in the circle. You're not neutral. You're advocating for empathy. Your position is empathy is important. I want everybody to stay within an empathic, process. And I think empathy is the way forward. Even when people try to create solutions, you advocate for, how about holding future empathy circles to talk about these issues as they kind of come to kind of repair and heal and improve their relationships, you're advocating for a culture of empathy in the family. So those are a little bit of a picture here of how that's going to look. There could be just 3 siblings. There might be a 4th. It'll just depend on, again, the amount of people we have. So again, the process is we have the breakout rooms. Participant 1 goes, then participant 2, participant 3. If you've got 4, you're going to have to reallocate those times to do 4. It'll be an hour and a half divided by 4, whatever that is. So then we have the full group, and so this is the outline of what's going to happen. Everybody's going to come back to the full group, and we're going to have the full group debrief as we always have. And the full group debrief is what we always do: learning debrief, 25 minutes, 1 minute each. What were your most important experiences and learnings in the breakout room? How this this session go? And then we're closing, and then just to recap, we have our standard process, which you're all familiar with, and then that's the end of our circle. We have our closing, which we tell you what's going to happen next week. So that's it. I will stop the recording here, and hope that this helps prepare you for taking part in the next session 5.